This week, we immure ourselves to spy on all of you. Unfortunately, it's also pruning away our sanity. This and more on episode 162 of Indie Game Riot. Indie Game Riot! Hey everybody, I am Josh, and also sick, joined by Ian, who also claims to be sick.
I'm also sick.
So I apologize ahead of time for our pre-pubescent voices crackling, such as they do. And I'm being distracted, it's okay, because there's like tea. I literally have 3 mugs of tea right now. Oh, no, two mugs of tea and 1 mug of water. So, anyway. Yeah, so I just discovered this, like, in the middle of the night last night. I was like, my throat kind of feels weird. And then by the end of the day, it's sounding like this now. I usually don't lose my voice when I'm sick, even when I have a sore throat. But
yeah,
for whatever reason, this is, like, clinging to that spot right back where your voice box is. And it's pissing me off. So I apologize for the way I sound. But, you know, at least I can't even do a lower register because it's just crackly now. Yeah, it's
at least you're here.
But
at least you're here.
I apologize for missing last week, but there was a personal thing going on with Ian's side of the family, or not Ian's side, but Ian's side of the Indie Game Riot family, I should say. So there's that. But other than that, anything interesting happening in the past couple weeks?
Let's see. Yeah, not really. Yeah, aside from that, I had to attend a funeral, so that was low, and then I got sick immediately afterwards.
You know how it goes, the funeral crud.
Yeah.
It's
well,
like the con crud, but
especially this was a massive,
sorry,
possibly the biggest funeral I've ever been to. So.
And sorry, by the way, I when it comes to death and sad things like that, my defense is to make jokes. I'm one of those assholes.
I'm right there with you. Don't worry. No, you can't phase me. It's all good.
You know what? One thing about funerals, like, I always feel like, and maybe it's just me, because I want people to do it at my funeral, I'd rather people laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want people to be depressed. Like, I know it's sad, but...
Well, this was actually a very, very, very jubilant funeral. My girlfriend's family they're a rowdy bunch. So it was
like a Viking funeral, and they're just drinking and slamming things under the ground.
Yeah, well, you know, her family's, they're all Middle Eastern, so they're these just like really bombastic, you know.
I don't know. I've never really known anything about like Middle Eastern cultural funerals or anything like that.
They like to eat, they like to drink, they like to party, and the family is gigantic. So it's fuck time. So yeah, it was a good time. It was a joyful send off.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I hope she's okay. If she's doing okay, but
for sure, yeah. Thank you. But yeah, that's the most interesting thing that's happened to me.
How's your game jam going?
Oh, everything is so. So actually, this one has been a 3-week one. So we're doing a haunted house game this week. The past 3 weeks, so that one's going pretty well. Had a group that was like going to do voiceover. Actually, I think I had mentioned them to you a couple of weeks ago, but they've since run out of time. So hopefully they'll be greenlit and can continue on their path. So yeah, it's been exciting. It's been busy as usual. How about you?
I took my kids trick-or-treating. We went to the Renaissance Fair, because I think that was all after the last episode we had, because I think the last episode was Halloween, right?
I believe possible.
So. No, was it?
No, you mentioned the Ren Fair, I think, last time.
I don't know.
You were talking about how impressed you were with the Ren Fair employees who were
yeah. Yeah, what? I don't know. I've lost, like I said, I'm not in touch
What
with
year is this?
I don't know. Like Christopher Lloyd. What year is it? Yeah. And I apologize for lost train of thoughts and everything like that, and just.
And we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it together. Don't you worry.
I feel like there's something. Oh yeah, there's I got a little surprise coming up for probably. I'm trying to decide where I should put it. Probably after Indie News Injection, I'm gonna put it. It's gonna happen between breaks, but I'll keep it recorded for those of you watching the VOD, the VOD, the video on demand, as the kids say nowadays.
The VOD squad.
Oh God. There's so many people in the past like couple months have been commenting on how young I look, because it's funny because I'll mention I have like a wife and kids, and they're like, "Oh God, how old are you?" And I'm like 30. I'm like, "Oh, I thought you were like 18." You know, like somewhere around 2018, 19, 20, 21, that sort of thing.
You have a youthful glow about you. Yeah.
But, well, until you start looking closer, and then you start to see the cracks and the gray hair. But it's funny because I also, the other reason that they do that is because I constantly date myself now. I was talking to people in like the break room at my secondary like job thing that I have. To supplement my income. That's what I was looking for. I was talking to people, and they, I mentioned something. I was like, oh, we were reminiscing about nostalgic things. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, I remember, like, Dunkaroos. And you remember Dunkaroos, right? You're not that much younger than me.
Dunkaroos exist here. They are here.
Fantastic.
Last week.
That's awesome. That's good to know, because I love Dunkaroos. But they were like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dunkaroos? And these people are like 19 years old, 20, 21. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. I gotta go sit down or something. Whittle in a rocking chair.
I feel you, man. The other day, I walked into class, and I told my buddy Hunter, I was like, I have Weapon of Choice by Fatboy Slim stuck in my head. And he said, Fatboy what? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so old.
Oh no, Fatboy Slim. That's good shit. No, he's pretty horrible, but at the same time, you just can't help but listen and sing along.
There's something there. I mean, it gets stuck in your head. That's
very true. Well, you know what can get stuck in your arm?
An injection.
An Indie News Injection, baby.
Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an Indie News Injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
This week on Indie News Injection, we've got actually a good bit of news, probably because we missed a couple of weeks or whatever. But if some of these are old, I apologize if you already know about them, but we're going to talk about that anyway. So, we have the power here, so fuck you. First one, surprise, surprise, No Man's Sky, let me get the thing up, is back in news with a new major update. Let me get the article open so I can talk about
it. Media darling, No Man's Sky.
I might need you to pick me up, by the way. I need you as backup if my voice gives out and I'm just like,
I got you. Don't you worry. I'll talk about No Man's Sky till my voice gives out.
It's the update is called The Abyss. And it's very focused on the underwater part of No Man's Sky, which to this date, or I don't know to this date. When did this actually come out? Or is it coming out? Halloween? Is it?
Let's see. We're prepared here. Doesn't actually say.
Well, I read it and then I forgot because it's been a while. But anyway, the point is that they have really neglected the underwater portion as far as like content goes. It's never really been worth exploring. Before this, there were creatures in the water, and some actually cool looking creatures too. There were like some narwhal looking things in there, and it was like, kind of interesting. But now they really overhauled the underwater part. There's some really interesting stuff. Like there's like this eyeball thing that I think like mesmerizes you or fucks with your head underwater or something like that. You can actually build your base underwater now, which is I don't think you could do before. So that's kind of nice. It's just a lot more variety in animal and plant life. I think there's actually underwater missions now that you can find like sunken wrecks and some modules under there, buildings, and I think there's even a submarine now. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a pretty big update, which makes it a pretty big deal. So congratulations, No Man's Sky, for getting back in the news once again. Another thing that's coming back in the news, because we talked about it somewhat recently, is that the IndieCade Awards have been announced, the winners. Let me know if any of these games tickled your fancy, especially since we talked about that last time, or if they were surprised or anything like that. But maybe we should start from the bottom, so I can leave. No. Wait, what am I looking at here? Hold on. Where's like the big one? Am I missing it? Like the Seamus McNally? Am I thinking of the wrong contest? My brain is so fucked. Anyway, all right, fuck it. I'll just read it. IndieCade Grand Jury Award. Bluebeard's Bride was the winner of that, which is like a horror tabletop RPG, which actually sounds kind of interesting to me. Bluebeard being like from the Fables, I guess you would say. Is that's from like a fable, right? Bluebeard. I know. Oh yeah, because it was in Fables, the graphic novel / Telltale game. Bluebeard. Right. But they won that. Kleptocrat, which I have heard of that, won the jury pre-award.
I was very interested in Kleptocrat when I saw it on the IndieCade page.
Yeah, Kleptocrat's pretty interesting to me. A lot of these are actually surprisingly like physical games that won. The Impact Award was The Game.
Great.
Impact Awards usually is like discusses social issues and stuff like that, but that one is specifically talks about like it kind of covers like the. Do you remember those like really bad games where it's like teaching guys how to pick up chicks?
Right.
Be a bro.
So it's the game as in like pickup artistry of the game.
It's covering that situation. All the prominent seduction coaches that are out there apparently, and it does it through the format of a dating sim.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Innovation and Interaction Design Award, which this one's like an ARG, where you, let's see, Tend AR or Tendar. I'm not right. This is really like Tinder. I'm not sure. I've not heard of it before. But anyway, it's a humorous, fun, and provocative installation expanding the mythology of Tinder app. The installation combines environmental storytelling, AR, and emotion face recognition technology. So you can actually it'll scan things in real life, and I believe you can add them to your inventory for usage. I'm not exactly sure. But it's kind of there's more details to it if you want to read through it, but we don't have a whole lot of time to cover everything. To list off some other ones. Innovation Interactive Design Award, I just covered that. Innovation and Experience Design Award was Asta Grande. Innovation in an Aesthetics Design Award, Nishan Shaman, which actually really does look good when you're talking about aesthetics. The art in that's really cool looking. It's very, it's kind of tribal, but mixed with an Asian style as well.
The art is staggeringly beautiful.
Yeah. The IndieCade Choice Award was One Hand Clapping, which, can you do that?
Like that sort of thing?
Like that. It sounds like you're fapping, but you know what I mean. IndieCade Developers Choice Award was Blindfold. This is the content you come here for, folks. Just us waving our hands in the air like we're mentally challenged. I Thrive Find the Kind prize was won by I Was Here, excuse me. Kate Edwards won the Game Changer Award. So that's an individual who has impacted the gaming landscape in a significant way. was a positive disruptor or who has brought a paradigm shift to the community of indie games. And Kate Edwards is the CEO and principal consultant of Geography, a consultancy for content culturalization, a board member of Take This, which we support, thanks to one of our listeners / watchers / IRX goers, Zed, Suzanne, Jackie, who's a lawyer, and also on Take This, and is the former executive director of the International Game Developers Association, aka the IGDA, from 2012 to 2017. And she does a bunch of other stuff. She worked for Microsoft, and she consulted for like BioWare, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and stuff like that. She was in Fortune magazine, they named her as one of the 10 most powerful women in the game industry.
Holy shit.
Yeah, she's got some shit going on. So, congratulations, Kate. The Bernie D. Coven Big Fun Award was won by Douglas Wilson, which the award is an honorary award created in collaboration with Bernie D. Coven to honor his legacy and to recognize individuals or organizations significantly furthering the field and impact of new big physical games. And then there were some other ones for IndieCade Europe. Their grand prize was What the Golf. Jury Prix was Laser Mazer. The Choice Award was a tie between Baba Is You and Carly and the Reaper Man Escape from the Underworld.
Which is another game that I'm very interested in. And
the Trailblazer Award, which was won by Michael Salmon, and I hope I pronounced it right, and Aria Harvey. So good job, folks. That's IndieCade 2018. So yet another thing that we've covered previously and have new updates on is Microsoft Studios has officially bought, because we talked about that they looked like they were going to do it, but they didn't do it. They officially bought Obsidian Entertainment and InXile Entertainment. How do you feel about that?
That's intense. That's big. I mean, it's interesting because what they've in effect done is purchased Black Isle in its sort of stratified form. So, I mean, it could be really good. Like, it's not that, Obsidian has worked with sort of big, monstrous publishers before.
They have, but at the same time, I appreciate, like, the things that they've done for the most part. Like, they worked with Bethesda, obviously, on
New Vegas,
and it was, in my opinion, the best Fallout game to come out. By the way, Fallout 76, I'm not buying that bullshit.
I've heard it's disastrously bad. It was so, it's staggeringly
just
bad.
Listen to anyone in the game industries. Fuck off with that multiplayer shit. You either make a multiplayer game that's like a party game, or a competitive game, which is fine. Whatever, leave that to people who like that. Or you make a single player game.
Yeah.
Don't fucking cram it in both. Anyway,
I get the impression that the outcome is basically just like a shitty MMO.
It's Fallout 4.
Fundamentally broken PvP.
It's Fallout 4 reskinned and extra buggy.
And with like a bunch of cool shit stripped out, from what I gather too. But I say this not having played Fallout 4.
There's no story if you're into it.
Story, no proper NPCs at all.
Anyway, Obsidian made the best Fallout game, in my opinion. But I believe that's because they're offered more leeway because of their reputation. And when they have their own games that they work on, such as Pillars of Eternity, look how fantastic those games were.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know as much about InXile.
Yeah, well, so InXile is everybody else from the old Fallout team. It's like, Brian Fargo, I think, maybe Tim Kaine. And they did the Wasteland games. They did the new Torment game. Did I think some of them may be former Troika employees too.
I wonder if Microsoft's like trying to I wonder if they're trying to move in on the CRPG thing, because I
think they must, because that would be the only reason to get those guys. I think. I mean, those guys are.
I wonder if they sent out offers to. I wonder if they sent out an offer to Divinity, the Divinity devs, Divinity Original Sin.
Yeah, that would be
because I feel like they see how much money these games have made, and they're like, yeah, I want a piece of that shit.
Yeah, for sure. So
But
Obsidian also did Obsidian has worked with big IPs before as well. So not only Fallout, but also sort of got put on the map. I think doing KOTOR 2.
Yeah.
At the behest of BioWare, who I guess were working on Jade Empire at the time.
Yeah. But
so I feel like they can probably go toe to toe with Microsoft, and I feel like I don't get the impression that it was a hostile takeover. So I feel like
I'm sure they made bank, and I'm sure they're happy with that. The people that own it. So I mean, there's that. And
it could be worse. It could have been EA. Right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, as a fan, I'm just apprehensive, but because Microsoft's kind of a flip of the coin whether or not they're gonna fuck it up or not.
Yeah.
I actually think they're doing okay with when they bought Minecraft. Like it could have been horrible, but they've done okay with it, I think.
Do they own the Cuphead studio as well? I can never remember. I think we've talked about this.
I don't know. I mean, if they own it, it's in a way that like an investment sort of way, I think, because they bought exclusivity rights for Microsoft for Xbox and PC, and then I think they also backed them basically as a publisher because they needed that money because it was taking forever to develop.
Right.
They needed their resources. So, but anyway, congratulations on the folks who owned Obsidian InXile. You're very, very more rich at this point, and Microsoft, don't fuck it up. But that said, we won't be talking about Obsidian or InXile games anymore because Microsoft owns them. Not that we really talked about them much before, because they were kind of one of those bubble. They're kind of one of those bubble studios as far as what's indie. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like licensed properties as it is, and once you've done Star Wars, I mean, you're about as licensed as you can get, right?
That's true. Yeah. Well, here's something that's on the complete opposite end of Obsidian and all that. Reddit. It's always a good way to start things off as Reddit. Reddit actually, in a rare occurrence, has something positive coming out of it. There's a subreddit now called Making Games with Strangers, which I found really, really cool, where you do what it says it does. You make games with people you don't know. You just get a piece of it, and everyone works their little bits into it, and I think something interesting comes out in the end. Would you, as a dev, be interested in like hopping in that, or do you worry about the possible legal issues?
Well, yeah, I mean, the legal issues are going to be legal issues no matter what, and here's something for all of you devs out there, like do it right, get a lawyer, get your paperwork in order, no matter how you do it. But I got my first freelance gig I got through our game dev classifieds. So yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, these communities need to happen. It's always going to be a crapshoot though, because there's always going to be guys that you're gonna find on there or whatever. Some people have the goods, some people don't, or whatever. But it's the same anywhere. So this is really interesting though. It seems. I don't know. I'm trying to get a sense of the ways in which it's different from the game dev classified.
Well, the idea is that it's game dev classifieds is part of this. But it's more of a. I should clarify. Making Games with Strangers is more of a movement, I think, on Reddit. It's not like an actual thing.
Like service.
Yeah, it's not like a game jam. So game dev classifieds, I Need a Team, and that sort of stuff are kind of part of it, where it's just people like hopping into. It's almost like a pay it forward type of thing, where like it's hard to find a team, but like, hey, I need this person to do this, and could you help me out? And people help out, sort of thing too. Once more proof that the indie game dev community is just fantastic. I would say.
Sure.
although I am always waiting for that shoe to drop, because I can mention I feel like there could be legal issues if you don't get your shit together.
Yeah. Again, before you make a team, make sure you have your shit together.
Well, speaking of getting their shit together, and not that it was a part in the first place, but again, we talked about this previously, well before you even knew, I think, about us, Ian. But the game Zed, which is a really beautiful adventure game, which is being made by the art director of Myst, who we actually had the opportunity to interview a couple times, actually, once for IRX and once on the show. But they just got picked up by a publisher. And by the way, in the meantime, we actually haven't mentioned it, I don't think, but in the meantime, they actually have pushed their game to be VR focused, because it's Myst in the puzzles, but with him being an art director, it's very focused on the aesthetic and art too. It's very nice looking. But anyway, they're being published by Cyan Ventures. So I just wanted to give an update on Zed, because Chuck over there, who's runs Eager Games, who makes that, is doing a really good job, and I'm glad that they're still moving forward with that. So congratulations to the folks at Zed. Another thing that we should be congratulating are the indies making a splash at the Game Awards. Have you checked out the Game Award nominees yet?
I have not, no.
Yeah,
I'm doing it right now.
You can go to, first of all, you can go to thegameawards.com. This is not like a sponsor or anything like that. It's just go to thegameawards.com, and you can actually vote for the people, or for the games and people, to win in their different categories. So you can influence this. But some of the indie games that are involved. First of all, there's one that's nominated for Game of the Year. So that's including things like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Spider-Man, Monster Hunter, Red Dead Redemption 2. There's an indie game in there as well. A lot of people don't think it deserves to be there, and actually, not to shit on this game because it's a fantastic game, but I think there are other indie games I think deserve that spot more. But either way, Celeste, which we've covered before, is actually up for Game of the Year as well by Matt Mix Games. And Celeste is that puzzle platformer where you're this girl that's like climbing a mountain. It has a really, really good soundtrack too. And it's really cute art in it too. Some of the other indie games, No Man's Sky is best ongoing game, is nominated for that, because I guess they're considering it since it's constantly getting updated, as you can tell, with it being always in the news. Let me see other ones. Best game direction is what I'm trying to get that. A Way Out. Although with that being, EA was heavily involved with publishing and getting that out there, but it was technically indie with Hazelight Studios, so that's there. Let's see. Just running down some of the other ones I saw here. Oh yeah, best art direction. Return of the Obra Dinn, which we covered recently. That is in best art direction. Best score / music. Celeste is nominated once again. And let's see. For me, being a voice actor, there's best performance, which I always liked. Although I feel like a lot of times the people I think deserve it get screwed out of their award by someone else who's not talented, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Games for Impact. So that's like a thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message. Celeste is involved in that again. Florence, which we covered briefly, I think, in news once because it was nominated for some other awards. That's in there. And The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories by White Owl / Arc System Works. So that's heavily... of course, the Games for Impact, a lot of times with the indie game community, they're the ones that can really dig in to those like experimental games and social messages and stuff like that, where a corporate company doesn't want to get their hands dirty in, you know. And there is a section for Best Independent Game. The nominees for that are Celeste, Dead Cells, fantastic game. I've actually recently been playing the shit out of that because it was fully released not too long ago. Into the Breach, excuse me, and Return to the Oberdin, and The Messenger. The Messenger's the only one I haven't heard of. I believe we've actually covered all of these except for that one. I've never heard of The Messenger. My choice for this, by the way, Dead Cells is pretty close, but my choice would be Return to the Oberdin. It is great. Best mobile game has a lot of these are indie. A lot of these are indie games. Donut County, which is actually kind of a fun little game. Florence, once again, and Reigns Game of Thrones, which is developed by Nereal and published by Devolver. Although they misspelled it on the website, they call it Developer Digital. And best VR, I don't know if you would. I guess these are, these are indie games. Astrobot Rescue Mission, Beat Saber, Firewall 0 Hour, Moss, which is cool, and Tetris Effect. I think Moss is a really cool game in general, and I think Beat Saber will probably be up there too. A lot of people like that game. Best action game is Dead Cells for indie game. And see. Trying to see if I missed anything else. If you consider Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire to be indie, that's up for best role-playing game.
My vote by default. I haven't even played it yet, and I know it's fucking sick.
Best family game, Overcooked 2 is nominated. The best strategy game, The Banner Saga 3. BattleTech, Frostpunk, Into the Breach. All but Valkyrie, that game by Sega. I can't, for whatever reason, I can't say it. But anyway, 4 of the 5 games are indie games for that one. And let's see, I think it's best student game. That's all indie, obviously, because they're all students. Combat 2018 Dash Quasar, Jira, Lif, and RE Charge, or Recharge, I guess you would say, but you know, whatever. Best debut game for indies: Donut County, Florence, Moss, The Messenger, and Yoku's Island Express, which I have not heard of that. And then the rest are all like various personalities within esports and such, so I'm not going to go through that. Anyway, that was a long list. That was longer than I expected, but congratulations to indies on being well represented, I would say. I don't know how much you're going to win in amongst the AAA games. Sometimes it doesn't really seem fair, but it's cool to be nominated. Let's see. Do you have a Dev Delve for today, or?
I was torn about Dev Delve today. First of all, I enjoyed it so much the last time when we were just sort of discussing a topic, but I was torn about what to discuss today. Because I got into an argument with a buddy of mine the other day. He was playing What Remains of What Remains of Edith Finch. No, we've all played that game, I think, and he played it for about 5 minutes, and he got to the part where you open the mailbox. And he got so frustrated by the fact that in order to open the mailbox, he had to, press the button and use the analog stick. He found this to be incredibly invasive. He was like, why can't I just press a button and have it happen?
It seems a little bit of an overreaction.
Right? And I come down hard on simulation for no reason, but that's very, very conservative in that regard. And I don't. Anyway, I flew into a blind rage and was insisting that he was he was a fool and just simply did not understand the nuance of good game design. And so I was thinking about just sort of ranting about that for a while. But on the other hand, I had this idea because I know that we both really enjoy adventure games. I know. A lot of people in our chat, frequently in the chat, enjoy adventure games as well. And so I was thinking that we talk about, what makes a good adventure game? What do we like out of our adventure games? What actually constitutes an adventure game? Like, at what point does, our action adventure games, proper adventure games, where is the line drawn? Is something like to drop like a non-indie title
I guess
here,
technically, like Yooka-Laylee is an adventure game.
Right? Is it an adventure game?
I consider it a collect 'em up, but I mean, technically, adventure game is very broad.
Yeah. So what is your take on that? What constitutes an adventure game?
That's why I don't really call what you're talking about adventure games. I call, like, Edith Finch, I call that a walking sim. Even if there's more puzzles into it, it's still in that general walking sim arena. Point and clicks are point and clicks, you know what I mean? But people call them adventure games. And then like Yuka, that game, the Banjo-Kazooie clone that Banjo-Kazooie devs made. That is a collect 'em up by my standards. I mean, you can call it like an action.
So is anything an adventure game then, or is adventure too broad a descriptor? You would always have to like.
Not anything's an adventure, but it's just way too broad. I mean, at that point, it's like, you know how we talked about rock the one time. It's like, okay, well, this is rock. I'm like, well, okay, you can consider a lot of things rock. There's like southern rock, there's pop rock, there's rap rock, there's heavy metal, there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta start narrowing it down a little bit so people know what the hell you're talking about.
It is true, and I was thinking about, well, what are some of the conventions that I commonly associate with it, an adventure game, like a proper adventure game, and you're right. I mean, I don't know that I would consider like Yooka-Laylee or those games necessarily adventure games, because there's like a ratio of like arcade elements to like story driven elements that I think an adventure game should really maintain. And like, so point and clicks are maybe the most austere example, I guess, where it's literally just you and some puzzles, and I can see, I mean, this is the thing too that's like interesting about the walking sim, right, is that like there's a threshold there too, right? Because at what point does a walking sim become a point and click, like a 3D point and click adventure game? Is it inventory puzzles? Is it sort of item collection? Or
I think weirdly, I think dialogue has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Because in all the ones that you can really. All the ones I can think of in my mind that were successful, Gone Home, Edith Finch, Ether One. There's another one that was made by another group of people from Myst called what was it called?
Abduction.
Right? Thank you. Yeah, they were all lacking mostly, for the most part, in dialogue, whereas like a point and click adventure is just walls of text. With sometimes voice acting as well, but there's usually subtext or subtitles with walls of text, and then choices to respond, that sort of thing.
So that's interesting, because it actually, I feel like it's an interesting point. I agree with you. I associate, dialogue trees are like a super fundamental part of adventure games, and yet, like Myst, for instance, like didn't have them. Like minimal dialogue.
I consider that a puzzle game.
Right. More than an adventure game.
That was closer to like The Witness, where it's just walking around solving puzzles.
Does The Witness have a story and like an overarching world? I never played.
If it does, it's very, very, very vague and subtle. It's not. But for the most part, I wouldn't even consider it a story-oriented game. By the way, I want to point out too that Vance, who I don't think is here, but who does our Indie Fireside, his game is actually mostly in 3D. He makes it in Unity, I believe, and his is actually more of a traditional point and click, just in 3D. So there is an exception now I think about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think especially like sort of the middle age of like point and click adventure games. A lot of those were were done in 3D. Frequently, they were done with like pre-rendered backgrounds, and then you'd have like a 3D character you control. But then you have like Grim Fandango, which very early on was a fully 3D world with a fully 3D character who could move in multiple directions.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like Vance's game, where it's like a fixed camera for the most part, right?
I gotta play those. I was hoping that he would actually be in the chat tonight because we were talking about adventure games.
Yeah.
And it is interesting too what you say about Myst being a puzzle game, because it really does toe that line, right? And I feel like in the early days the adventure game was almost exclusively a puzzle game. You had like Zork, which started in the text-based era and like eventually came sort of forward into 3D. Then you have the Myst series, and then you have ones that are like, you know, I feel the Myst did a pretty good job of incorporating it. It had all these like mechanical puzzles. It's always about like figuring out how to use some sort of alien technology or machinery in the context of like a broader story arc, which is basically about this like, right. It's basically you're like following this sort of declining aristocratic family from this lost culture who have this sort of internal politics over their craft, which just happens to be the like writing of book-based worlds. And I thought that they did a pretty good job of incorporating their puzzles into that. By contrast, another early puzzle game or adventure game, quote unquote, like The Seventh Guest, was sort of a ghost story, like tacked on to more like obvious, like transparent puzzle mechanics, where you're exploring the haunted house and all of a sudden you like have to play tic-tac-toe, or you like have to do like a sliding tile puzzle or something.
That's just bad immersion.
Right. It doesn't immerse me at all. And so the sort of veneer, the illusion is
What do you consider? I mean, what about hidden object games?
Yeah, well,
a very popular but not very talked about genre.
It's so funny you should mention that because there's a lot of like bleed over these days, I think, between the traditional point and clicks and the hidden object games. And if you're not careful, you can end up accidentally buying a hidden object game that was intended to be marketed more towards like soccer moms playing on a tablet.
Yeah. By the way, I play them occasionally. I think they're nice to like just.
You know, it's nothing.
To not think.
You could be a soccer mom too. It's all good. No, I'm not passing judgment here. Anyway.
Oh, I can go into like the grocery market and yell at the deli workers for.
Yeah. Why not? Right?
I'll be Karen.
This is 2018. We can do whatever we want. But there are a few that I actually have played and liked. Actually, there's one in particular that I played and I liked, and I said, this is definitely a hidden object game, but it is almost a point and click adventure game, and that's a game called Tormentum. Dark Sorrow, I believe, is its full title.
Tormentum. Didn't they just come out? Am I thinking of the wrong thing? I thought they just did like a remake.
Ooh, really?
I might be thinking of the wrong thing, but the name sounds familiar.
So Tormentum is like an absolutely gorgeously illustrated dark fantasy hidden object game that's like heavily inspired by like black metal and Dark Souls. Very, very cool game. Very, very like rich atmosphere. Very, very compelling storyline. And yet fundamentally, yes, like a slightly more. It's not strictly I Spy the way some of these point and clicks are, or some of these hidden object games are, but definitely there. Like not a proper like hardcore point and click adventure game. So. To answer your question, it's funny. It's a fine line. There's this convergence of these subgenres that sort of imply the common heritage of like Myst and
even if you divide it into subgenres, like you said, there's always crossover. So all you can really do is separate them by like the biggest mechanic in the game.
Yeah.
So,
is it a point and click? Is it a walking simulator? Is it, whatever it is? I'd like to see. I'd love to see really a resurgence of Myst likes, which have yet to enjoy the revitalization that
I feel like they've been pushing.
Yeah.
They've been pushing for it, but it hasn't really caught on yet.
Are there any examples that you've seen that are really attempting to break through it?
Like I said, it's like the old Myst. It's like the Myst devs that made Myst and was it Raven or something?
Riven, yeah.
Riven, that's right. Like with Abduction, and now with Chuck making from Year Games making Zed. There's another one called. There's another one called Homesick that we covered.
I've been looking at that game periodically.
Zach in chat says, is it Kern? Is that how you pronounce it?
Kern, something like that. Yeah, I've been looking at that as well. That looks very much, in fact, specifically like Riven, just from the screenshots, which very intriguing to me.
There's another game too that we covered like on episode like 2 or 3 of the show, and they ended up splitting it apart. But what was it called? The Lost City, the Sunken City, something like that.
Leviathan, the Old City.
That one. Yeah. That one I would consider kind of a mislike.
It is. It's a fantastic game. It's more of a walking simulator, I think, because I don't think it has any proper puzzles, but the environment certainly had this like sort of Myst-like surrealistic quality. I loved that game. I keep meaning to go back and play it.
But they ever like continued with it, because they made it seem like they were gonna make more episodes, quote, of it.
Yeah, I never heard anything else about them post-mod Softworks. As far as I know, that was their only game. And it's not difficult to imagine that it wasn't successful enough for them.
I don't think it was, but it's still a shame.
Yeah, because that game was something special. I remember firing it up and just having it be a lot richer and a lot deeper than I had expected. It is certainly not one of these like rickety cobbled together, walking sims that so frequently bleed through into Steam. So. But yeah, I don't really have anything more cohesive this week other than sort of that question. So it sounds like we're in agreement that adventure games it's a broad category. It's difficult.
And tell your friend, if he's still alive, that he needs to fucking calm down, man.
Oh yeah, well, immediately after he said that, he like literally had 17 dudes on him being like, "You have to finish this game. Shut the fuck up, or we'll like finish it for you and make you watch."
Well, that said, coming up next is Starting Riot. But first, hopefully this is a pleasant surprise to all of you. But I decided to do this at some point, and we're probably gonna do some more. Up next, between our breaks, we've got a bit of a commercial, but the commercial I made myself. It could be really, really stupid to you, or it could be funny. I don't know. But the point is that I want to push because they support us, and I'd like to support them more. And also to point out the fact that you can actually, if anyone is interested in advertising on the show, that you can actually essentially commission one of these commercials if you do in fact like it. It would be in this kind of a style. So, that said, we'll be right back after this message.
Hey, you okay, buddy? Oh God, I need more indie games to play. You got any on you? Come on, man! Don't hold out on me!
Whoa. Take it easy. I don't have anything like that.
Oh God, I can't take it.
But I know where you can get some of the good stuff.
What? Really?
Oh, yeah. It's a place called Itch.io. Just head to bit.ly/itchyigr. They have tons of indie games for you there, from big names to hidden gems. Many of them are even free, so you can stop sucking alleyway dick for 25 cents a pop.
Wow. That sounds great.
Sure is. Itch.io may not cure the itch in your pants, but it will cure your itch for indies. Just make sure you support the devs when you get back on your feet. So how about you stop crying like a little punk-ass bitch and come with me to fix the itch? I'll even give you an indie news injection to take the edge off in the meantime.
You know what? That sounds great. Do you, still want me to suck your dick?
Your mouth looks like a bulldog was hit by a truck while eating a jar of mayonnaise, so no, not in the least.
This week on Starting the Riot, trying to project so my voice doesn't break. We've got another dystopian Big Brother 1984-esque game coming at you called Do Not Feed the Monkeys by if I can pronounce it the right way, Fictiorama, I believe. Fictiorama Studios and Badland Games. They both worked on this as the developers. So yeah, do not feed the monkeys is they make it sound worse than I think what it is. Maybe not. They call it a digital voyeur simulator, where you can monitor strangers through webcams and surveillance cameras. You can pry into people's private lives, strangers at that. You can experience fun, surprising, horrific, and dramatic themed narratives, which, as disgusting as that would make you feel, hopefully anyway, I feel like in a gameplay aspect, the narrative part of it, the fact that you can just kind of sink your teeth into these living stories is kind of cool. Oh man. But you also go ahead.
I was gonna ask, did you say that this game has some sort of connection to Beholder?
I think Badland Games was the one that made Beholder, which is also like the dystopian spy camera type thing, watching strangers. It's not the exact same thing. I would say this is actually kind of. I don't really want to compare it to anything within the similar genre.
Because it's unique, you would say?
Yeah, I don't want to compare it to any of this similar genre of the voyeurism type thing, because there's the Observer and Observer 2, which is going to come out soonish, and then there's another one called Orwell that actually was very successful. It's kind of a cross between both, I would say, almost. Although I think this is I don't know. This is very much its own style. If I had to compare, it's probably more Orwell than I think the other one, because you're on a computer a lot of the times, whereas the other one it's more of you're more walking around talking to people and that sort of thing within the building.
Interesting.
Anyway, it says you also have to keep your personal life safe and secure. So there's a cover that you're part of a group that does this, and so you have a cover of being a wildlife conservation society called the Primate Observation Club, which they're insulting people that they're watching, obviously by calling them monkeys. And the one rule is that you do not interact with the observed subjects, aka do not feed the monkeys. So, which leads me to believe that the narratives that you will be following are going to hold some sort of ethical dilemma of oh my god, maybe I should do something about this, but you're not supposed to, and there might be issues if you do, that sort of thing. I think this game looks kind of silly, right? but I feel like this is going to be one of those games that are actually darker than what it is.
Yeah,
It
it has
looks like.
some depth to it. I agree.
Yeah. And also, I believe there's a little bit of like a mystery aspect to it too, where you're like kind of solving an ongoing mystery through watching these people too, and you're like taking notes and that sort of stuff throughout the game. Is what it looks like to me. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to actually play it, so I'm basing it off of gameplay I've watched and the website information, that sort of stuff. So, would you be interested in playing this, or does it make you feel
Yes,
gross?
yeah, no. I am absolutely interested in playing this game. It looks fascinating.
If given the opportunity, would you be paid to do this, aka the Patriot Act?
Probably not, no.
If you were paid $1,000 a day,
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know.
is there
it's
a
hard to
money
say.
line? I want to know. I want to know where your sleaze level is.
No. I mean, $1,000 a day is pretty tempting. But here's the real issue. I highly doubt that I could ever obtain the security clearance to get a job like this.
You smoked weed once.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck off.
So it's a question that I fortunately will never have to really grapple with.
Now you're up in fucking high Canada. Which is a double meaning now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Do Not Feed the Monkeys, currently on Steam. I should have opened it. Oh, I do have it open. Look at me. Currently on Steam for $11.99. You can buy a bundle, which has, let me see. Surveillance, blah, blah, blah. One of two items. What is it? Is that, what's in the surveillance bundle? Because apparently I own whatever's in that bundle. Let me see it. Hold on. Oh, yeah. It has Observer in it. That's what it is. You can buy the surveillance bundle, which has Observer in it, for actually cheaper. What? Interestingly, it's cheaper than purchasing the game straight out. Well, maybe it is because I already own Observer. I think that's what's going on. So, anyway, it's 20% off both games together if you buy the bundle. And why does my music keep pausing? What the hell's going on here? Did it end? Apparently it ended. Start over here. Hold on a second. I gotta start it over. That's what I gotta do. There it is. And then there's another bundle where you can get Do Not Feed the Monkeys and I'm Not a Monster. So between the two companies that worked on this, Observer being Badland Games' previous game, you can get that bundle, or you can get the other game, which I believe is made by Fictiorama, which is I'm Not a Monster. So anyway, I really like these kinds of games. You can do these things without actually having to be a sleazeball, if that's what you're into. I actually kind of like the aesthetic too. It reminds me of Day of the Tentacle. Is that what the?
Yes, yeah, it has a really strong early LucasArts vibe to it.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, speaking of peeping on people, I think it's time to move on to Peep Show.
Please give all your attention to Early Access.
This week on Peep Show, we've got the leftover from the Halloween episode that I wanted to cover. But, we had to pick one, so we went with the other one because I knew I was going to cover the other one, whichever one we did pick in a later episode anyway. This one is called, Immure. I think my voice is leaving me even more now. Immure is made by Wither Studios. And I really like the, we're talking about aesthetics a lot today, but I really like the aesthetics of this one as well. Basically,
really nice artwork.
Yeah, basically you're this guy who ends up in this, I don't know what you would call it. I guess it's kind of a mansion, but it's very non-Euclidean in a way where hallways just seem to go on forever. But you end up and there's a big mystery, so I don't know like the full story, nor do I want to spoil it anyway. But you get this little stone thing that you're seeing in the gameplay, and it reveals messages and hidden things around this building. And then you talk to this weird dude who's like fucking with you, it seems like, but he's also kind of helping you out. But you don't know really how benevolent or malevolent it is. The fact that he's helping you, but there's doors in this mansion that lead you to these other places where people have died, and you have to discover how they died and whether or not you want to save their souls, essentially. So in this early access game, there's only one of those things that you can go into currently. One of those other areas where people have died, and it's this burning building. Where there's this building that burned down, and there's this monster who's dressed like a firefighter, who's essentially chasing you the entire time. You know, you have to hide from them, run from them, while also talk to these other ghosts and whatnot, and figure out what happened to them so you can save them or not, depending, because there's like some moral dilemma. Some of these people might be bad and deserve it or whatever, or you could say, okay, they should be redeemed for whatever reason. And there's a lot of like looping around monsters, a lot of hiding. It gets pretty tense, and it is pretty scary. The whole atmosphere is really creepy. As a connoisseur of horror games, what do you think of it?
Oh, I was thinking about buying it immediately, but I see that it is not yet available.
What? You should be able to play it. Hold on a second. Now I gotta look. There's a demo. It's a demo. That's what it is. They split it up into a demo instead of early access now. So if you go into the store and search Immure,
there'll be Immure demo.
It'll say Immure demo, yeah, and it's free, by the way. It was early access, but I think they might have moved it to a demo, which kind of makes sense, actually. It kind of makes sense because it is a huge portion of the game that's missing. Usually early access has like a large chunk of the game already. This is definitely more like a demo since you're only playing like the very first part of it. But yeah, I highly suggest trying it out since it's free, Ian.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Very good storytelling, I think, with that, and the fact that you're discovering these people's deaths and also what's happening to you. There's a mystery there that you don't figure out, and there's really good character development among environmental clues and lore and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a very Silent Hills aspect to it too when you go to these other worlds. In my opinion, anyway. Not that it's like anywhere close to Silent Hills, but for whatever reason, it gives you that same feeling of being closed off from the rest of the world in this weird, foggy place.
Like a purgatory.
Yeah, that sort of thing. That's exactly what it is. There's a little bit of puzzles too. You're collecting items and that sort of thing. There's an inventory. It's just there's multiple ways to go about things. It's not really choice based, except for the fact that you choose whether or not to save people's souls. But there are multiple things that you can do and ways that you can do them. But it's just not very focused on that, which it's mostly focused on getting to the end of the story and figuring out what's going on. So. Yeah, that's Immure by Wither Studios. Currently, now changed, as we found out. It is a free demo on Steam, and then the page itself, you can still wishlist it, which I highly suggest. Very, very cool game that you should wishlist and play later. I'm trying really hard to get through with my voice.
It's okay. I'll take Prune.
All right. So that said, good job, guys. Going mobile. Ow.
This week, on going mobile. We'll be talking about a game called Prune. So I was just telling Josh when I first saw that we were doing Prune, I had like a profound sense of deja vu. I was like, I'm pretty sure I played a game like this, but I feel like it was a long time ago. Turns out that it was a long time ago, but that this game has recently been updated just this year, just minorly. And it is a really interesting game, so I'm glad that we are revisiting it. It's incredibly brief. As I recall, you can play through the entire thing in about 45 minutes, I think, if I remember correctly.
I think it's one of those games that you're kind of like, you can get through it because there's like a slight puzzle aspect to it.
Yeah.
But it's more of a game where it's supposed to be zen. You're supposed to relax and just kind of take your time. And
right. It's definitely a meditative experience. I think it's sort of the more mature or like artsy realization of like Fruit Ninja. But it involves sort of the simulation of tending to a bonsai tree, kind of. Where it's really just a regular tree, but it's similar in its presentation to, you know, the ceremony of tending to a bonsai or whatever.
I wonder how they would feel about being compared to Fruit Ninja.
Well, but favorably compared, like they're being, you know,
Fruit Ninja,
yeah,
the art masterpiece of our time.
I mean, it says, sometimes it takes an uncommon mind to change the world. Just leave it at that. Fruit Ninja tries its best, you know. And but yeah, Prune, you know, particularly in its sort of swipe interface, obviously like designed to maximize the immersive potential of a touchscreen. Don't tell my colleague Erdem, why can't I just click on the branch and have it cut itself off? We'll say. But no, everything I remember about this game, and I'm getting the sense that this is basically everybody's takeaway. It's a very, very popular game, it seems, is that it's very understated and poetic experience, meditative, like you said, very zen. So yeah, if you are a person who struggles with high anxiety like myself, perhaps you should give Prune a try. I'm not a doctor, so I can't prescribe Prune or tell you that it will cure your anxiety per se, but I can recommend it as a co-host of Indie Game Riot, and I'm using my most hypnotic and zen tone of voice to suggest to you that you take part in this experience.
Recommended by 9 out of 10 podcasters.
Recommended by 9 out of 10 pot smoker.
That too. It's a good game.
Yeah, it's beautiful. In all seriousness, it is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I feel like it would make you think a little bit too deeply if you were smoking.
Yeah.
What does it mean, man?
Far down that rabbit hole.
What does it mean?
It is. It's definitely cool though.
Is there a cost on it? I forget if there's a cost on it.
There is a cost. It's looks like about $4. I'm not sure if that's US or Canadian. $3.99 on the Google Play Store.
Yeah, hold on, I got it. I can get it up. I'm gonna look. There we go.
Sometimes my browser shows me Canadian dollars. Sometimes it shows me regular dollars.
$3.99. Regular dollars.
Real dollars.
The only one that matters. This fake Canadian money.
Oh, I became the most popular person in my class by on one of the very first days. I was like, I'm gonna go and get an iced coffee from this shop, and they were like, but it's so expensive. It's like $4.50 for an iced coffee. I'm gonna say, yeah, but I pay with real money.
Do they take American money?
Well, no, but my obviously my bank account is American, and
does it automatically transfer?
Well, I'm keeping my bank account in the States, so
Yeah, but I
can use my debit card.
So it automatically transfers over to Canadian.
Yes, sir.
For the wow, that's cool. Interesting.
I can use ATMs. I can use whatever.
Well, you know what you can do with some of that real American money?
Donate it.
You can even do it with the fake Canadian money.
I could give it to your Patreon.
You can go give it to the Patreon. Help us out. Go to patreon.com/Indie Game Riot. I'm trying to get through this really hard.
Yeah, so go to patreon.com. I'm not going to be able to do this. There's so much fancy stuff that you do. We have a Twitter, we have a Facebook, we have a website, and we have some email.
Yeah. There's a Discord too.
Twitch? Is there something about Twitch Prime memberships that's special?
Sure.
Okay.
Subscribe with your Twitch Prime membership.
Subscribe with your Twitch Prime membership because that helps us out even if you're politically opposed to supporting Patreon because of the drama that they're involved in that I'm never clear on but I know exists.
It's over now, but people still are salty about it.
They were making people salty. Some people are still salty. If you are a salty person, then you can subscribe to Twitch Prime instead of going to Patreon. Also, follow us on Twitter. You can always swing through our Discord, our Indie Game Riot Discord, where you can chat with us in real time.
And while we have these Twitter handles below us, that's our personal ones. The one is at IGR Podcast.
At IGR Podcast, You heard the man. He's trying desperately to communicate with you. I think that brings us to the end of episode 162 of Indie Game Riot. Would you like to say your goodbyes, sir?
Goodbye, sir.
And goodbye to you. Once again, I'm Ian the Current. Josh is hopefully going to make it through the night. His name is Josh Musser, and this is Indie Game Riot. Have a good night.
Say Indie Game Riot one more time.
Indie Game Riot one more time.